Good morning and welcome to this morning's children's talk from Providence Baptist Church. We are heading towards Easter, and to understand Easter, we have to understand a little about calendars. Now, calendars are a bit like maps, but instead of land and sea and towns and roads, there are months. Here we are in March, and weeks and days of the week, and here we are on Sunday, the 21st day of the month of March. And in 2 weeks' time, in another 14 days, we will be at Easter Sunday, the 4th of April. Now, our story this week is from John's Gospel in the New Testament part of the Bible. But we must first go back some 1,600 years to the book of Exodus in the Old Testament. There we learn about how the people descended from Abraham, Isaac and Jacob were in slavery in Egypt, and how God saw the oppression of his chosen people and sent Moses and Aaron to tell the ruler Pharaoh to let his people go. And because Pharaoh wouldn't, God brought judgment on Egypt, ending in the death of all the firstborn sons, except where people honoured God and obeyed his instruction, and put the blood of a sacrificed lamb on the entrance to their homes, and then the judgment would pass over and they would be safe. Every year they celebrated this event and their rescue by God from slavery, and called the celebration the Passover. Starting on the 14th day of the month of Nisan, and continuing for another 7 days, the Feast of Unleavened Bread marked the Passover. Jesus and his disciples, being Jews, celebrated the Passover every year. Now, people at that time walked barefoot or in sandals along the dusty roads. So when they arrived at a house, the least important servant would have to wash their feet. Not a pleasant job, you can imagine. And as our story opens, the disciples are waiting for the Passover meal to be served. We imagine they don't have any servants, so their feet are still dirty. Jesus filled a basin with water and took a towel, and he began to wash their feet, taking the role of the lowest servant. When he came to Peter, Peter said, "No, Lord, you're not going to wash my feet." Jesus said, "You don't understand now, but if I don't wash you, you have no part with me." Peter said, "They're not just my feet, but my head and hands too." Peter was saying that if Jesus was taking the role of a servant, then it should be the most important one, the body slave, the one closest to his master. Jesus said, "You call me teacher and Lord, for that is what I am. Now that I have washed your feet, you should do the same. I have set you an example." Paul, in his letter to the church at Philippi, said, "In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be held on to. Rather, he made himself nothing, by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross." We will have the next part of our Easter story next week. Thank you for listening.